I got a letter actually, not an email, but a letter in the mail from Rob from Tamaqua, Pennsylvania. And he told me how to pronounce Tamaqua, but I know that because I've been to Tamaqua. But anyway, he wrote a letter, and it mentions the Anabolic Warrior, as he used to be named back in the 80s Wrestling Observers. Dear Jim, I love hearing your tremendous mastery of all things that is classic pro wrestling. Your knowledge has enlightened the masses and gives hope that sports-based professional wrestling can still once again be a part of the fabric of Americana. It has even soothed my depression as several of the local prostitutes have left town and I am lonelier than usual. I'm sending you these paper towels, and actually inside the box with this letter were included 2 rolls of Bounty pick-a-size paper towels. So I thank you, Rob. I'm sending you these paper towels in hopes you'll read my question on air. Well, you see that it worked. And for the great knowledge you have given all of us. Your co-host, however, leaves much to be desired. He tries to be witty and often fails miserably. The very fact that his own podcasts usually run an average of 11 hours, 23 minutes, and 4 seconds proves his own unusual narcissism. I've repeatedly sent several pertinent, with a capital P, pertinent questions for you to answer, only to have them dismissed by Brian Lost. To make matters worse, my questions have been replaced by those from Charlie of Ballsack, Mississippi. I have wanted to know for some time what you think of the following. Vince McMahon offered the Ultimate Warrior a contract in 1997, which is attached. What do you make of such an anomaly? I don't actually think that that's the right use of the word anomaly, but we're going to go with it. But he actually, and this gave me a fucking weird pop for a second, like I was getting some kind of goddamn deep throat communication. There is a carbon copy, as they used to say, a photocopy of the actual contract that Vince offered the Ultimate Warrior, Jim Hellwig, in December of 97 to try to get him to come back. He didn't. And then I realized this was in a lawsuit. So that's how he got it. But the point is, I have some of this stationery here in my files. It's on WWF stationery to Mr. Jim Hellwig, dated December 17, 1997. Right after Montreal, right? 6 weeks after Montreal. To Mr. Jim Hellwig at Ultimate Creations on North Scottsdale Road in beautiful Scottsdale, Arizona. Dear Jim, I am prepared to offer you the following. Term 5 years. Minimum guarantee. It says guaranteed, not guaranteed. Guaranteed. They were still typing these on actual typewriters back in those days. Compensation $750,000 plus royalties. Royalty rate. Royalties to be paid on a 35% basis. Everyone else is paid on 25%. That's not a parentheses for me. That's actually written here. Working days, 14 per month for everything. And the comment, Jim, this deal is far more lucrative to you than our last agreement of 1996 and obviously far more long-term. I look forward to building the resurgence of the Ultimate Warrior again. Sincerely, Vince. Do you remember, since you're a fucking savant, what lawsuit that this was a part of, which time that Hellwig sued him, or how this came out? I've seen it before now that I've looked at it.
I could be wrong, but I think it may have been the lawsuit that came out of the release of the self-destruction of the Ultimate Warrior DVD.
Okay. Oh, that's right, because then Warrior's side was trying to prove that, well, if he sucked so bad as all of you said, then why did Vince offer him this deal? And the question that I cannot answer, for the first time in the history of the Drive-Thru, I've been asked a question I can't answer. I don't know why that Vince McMahon would have offered that piece of shit that much money to come back and make his life miserable again. It is a conundrum, an enigma, a mystery.
He was afraid he was going to go to WCW, which is what he did.
My God, that would have been like when fucking Bill Watts told Grizzly Smith, no, keep booking the opposition. I'll pay you some extra money to stay there because you're a rotten booker. And that's what happened. He went to WCW, made their life miserable, sapped them for some money, and sucked. You see how frustrating it is to be in Vince McMahon's orbit, because when all is well, he can be, as we've mentioned many times before, such a charming billionaire and fun to be in the presence of in some instances, but can also be fucking crazy. And for the same that he looks at people that obviously have talent and obviously you would want as part of your company, and he doesn't give a shit. He fixates on guys like this. And I know, because he made this was his, I think even more than Hogan, this was his idea of what a wrestler should look like. And he gave the country and the world mass hysteria, or perpetrated mass hypnosis or whatever, for like that fucking, 2.5 year run of the Ultimate Warrior. We was really fucking hot. Was it 3 years?
He was really hot, I would say, from late 88 until he left in 91.
Okay, whatever the fuck. And then there was Nostalgia, as we will recall, in 96, that lasted, about 2 TV appearances. And then the product had run off and left the Ultimate Warrior back in fucking ice cream bar land. He was the shits. He never tried to get any better. I've not made a secret that he was exactly why I always looked down on WWF wrestling in the 80s. And we never thought of going there, because if that's the fucking thing you're pushing, I don't want to be anywhere around it. And I thought they were fucking crazy when they brought him back in 96, and we talked about that recently. He squashed Helmsley. I didn't understand anything that he fucking said. I didn't know why anybody would want to fucking deal with this head case. And I was the only one proving, everybody was, oh, great, his Warrior's back in the family. And I was the one proven right when 6 weeks later he was out of the fucking family and he's suing Vince again. And so, just buy 1 million of my comic books for $1 a piece and we'll call it even. And all that other shit. And then Vince is fucking freaking out. He's lost Brett, and he thinks the Warrior's going there, and I was already off the creative team, because you can tell this is December 17, 1997. I would bet that he had the idea to do this on December 16, 1997. But anyway, I'm serious.
If he regretted Brett's contract, can you imagine what he would have felt like a day after, a week after, a month after Jim Hellwig signed that contract if he had?
I don't, he always thinks he can either handle these people or he can talk them into it, or he's just got a blind spot or whatever. But it seems like he gives the best deals, best offers, and the most preferential treatment to the biggest head cases and the biggest pains in the ass. And so I cannot answer the question of why he would have done this. Obviously, the answer to the question is to keep him from going to WCW, but the answer to the question really is more complicated. Why the fuck would you want this motherfucker in your life? He still thought that he would be some kind of ratings draw for an opposition or for himself.
Can you imagine how different 98 would have been if you had the Warrior making that money? Obviously, he has to be in a top spot. The year you elevate Steve Austin.
Oh, good God.
It would have been a disaster.
You know what I'd like to have seen? That may have been another fucking case of Phil Hickerson meets Jim Hellwig if it was Steve Austin versus the Ultimate Warrior. Fucking Austin may have, I don't know if he'd have scoop slammed him to show him something. He would have stomped a good mud hole. That would have been Steve Austin's best looking fucking stomps. But anyway, the Phil Hickerson and Ultimate Warrior Hour. Nobody would know unless we did these programs that Phil Hickerson and Jim Hellwig's careers intersected as Phil was about out and Hellwig was just in, and ended up, I think Phil retired again the next year or something like that, and he's been successful, as a matter of fact, until recently.
He came back. No, P.Y. Chuhai.
That's right. He did the P.Y. Chuhai as the heel thing. Which was kind of a rib on Tojo because he used to work as P.Y. Chung.
Yeah.
and then retired. And I think he retired all the way here not long ago, but he's been doing radio in Jackson, Tennessee for years and years and years. And everybody in town loves Phil Higgers.